30 seconds. I expect your hands. I don't think that. Oh, wow. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I just sent him a text, so. Oh, okay. All right, good evening and welcome to the second Budget Committee meeting, August 26, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers. This is our second Budget Committee meeting with the presentation of the budget from the mayor for 2025. And just like to start out with thanking everybody for being here and all the department heads for taking this fine evening to come in and spend with the council. And I just want to thank the mayor again for giving us access to communicate with all the department heads as well. It's been very beneficial, and I just want to apologize ahead of time for my middle of the night emails last night to all the department heads. You just got to do business when you can do business. So, but everybody got back and very quickly. So I really, really appreciate that. So, okay. So the way I would like tonight to go is, and I did email everyone ahead of time, is we will go ahead and do just like a format of pulling each department head up to the microphone. That way everyone, all the council members feel like they had an opportunity to ask questions. And of course, the mayor, I imagine you're always available for any questions throughout. So yeah, and basically we'll call up each department head, and it's just going to be whoever has questions can ask. If you don't, then we'll move on to the next. So, Mayor, did you want to say anything or add anything?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you all again for being here and doing this and trusting me. This is my first budget cycle, so I'm excited and nervous and happy all at the same time. So I appreciate all you guys working with me on this and trusting our administration to be able to put together a solid budget for the city of Marion. Again, I'll reiterate, I'm super proud of all the work that myself and all the department heads and all of our team has done to get this prepared. A lot of work went into this, and one thing I will state that we are proud of is we have a general fund that is functioning in the black for the first time in a long time. So kudos to our team for making that happen. And yeah, from there, I think we're ready for questions. I don't know what order do you want to go in order of the book, or how you want to do it?
Okay. Yeah, I'll go in a certain order here, but I will go ahead and start just with the Common Council's budget first. Let's see if everyone can go to that Common Council. It's the second one in on the Green Book. Like I said, the last meeting, Vice President Calgo and I sat down with Controller Galt, 2 months ago, just to kind of put some preliminary information in. And I will remind everybody that this is just a committee meeting, so things can be changed up and down, of course, obviously with the mayor's blessing. Moving forward, when it gets to the actual full council meeting, that's when you can only cut. So I say that because there was a decision made not to propose a pay increase for the council. I don't feel like that was appropriate for just me or Vice President Calgill to propose. So if any of the council members feel like that should be, the council should get a pay increase, obviously this is a committee, we all can discuss it. But as far as anything else on there, I'm willing to take questions, answer. This is a collaboration is the way I view this. We're all on the council. We had to have a starting point and a base. That was a starting point in the base, and I'm open to suggestions, recommendations from there. So anybody have anything they want to add for the Common Council budget?
Are you going in order like you did last time? Or
just whoever has questions. Yep, just ask and I'll address you. Yep. Vice President Calgo?
Yeah, I think that we ought to have a raise in there. I do, because it's just the same situation with the mayor. I mean, he went, what, 14 or 16 years, whatever it was. And so, it's the cost of living goes up every single year. And right now, I mean, we've all been to the grocery store. We know how much groceries are, gas, everything is going up. We had our raise for the first time last year, I think it was last year or year before, in 20 years. And when we go and not give raises year after year after year, you fall behind. And that's why Marion is the police department, the fire department, the mayor's office was, our common council. Average salary for a councilman in Indiana is like $14,000. We make, what, 8, I think, or something like that. I just personally, and it's not, I mean, that raise of the 5.5 or whatever it was that everybody else got on what we make is not going to be, it's going to be what, $150 or something, whatever it is. But I think that we need to get out of the habit of skipping people's pay year after year after year.
All right, thank you, Vice President Calgo. Anyone else have an opinion on council pay? Oh, Councilman Kane.
I would certainly agree.
Mute your mic.
Cowgill, I don't want to.
Mike.
Sorry, always forget that. I agree with Mr. Cowgill. I think that to not give council members a raise is a mistake. I think you have to keep up from year to year. We don't want to fall in the trap of 3-4 years. And Mr. Cowgill was exactly right. It was 20 years since the council had received a raise, because I guess nobody thought they had maybe the nerve to suggest that we get a raise or give ourselves a raise. I don't feel I'm giving myself a raise. I'm giving the whole council a raise from year to year, just to keep up with normal expenses. I broke it down. I've said this many times. I've broken this down. A 5% raise, and that would be my suggestion to this council. A 5% raise amounts to, here again, I've said it before, a half a tank of gas per month. That's what it amounts to. So breaking it down into layman's term, I don't think that's too much to ask for, but it is keeping up with the cost of living on a year-to-year basis. So I would suggest a raise. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Kane. Any other council members have input for or against that?
Yeah, I've got it.
Councilman Fordyce, go ahead and turn your mic on.
So 5% would be $431.51 a year. That would bring our base pay to $9,061.90 a year. Pre-tax, if you guys want to try to do the math on that, at 5%. So that's $431.51 per person, times 9. And I don't have a problem with that, because we did take on additional at the end of, not the end, but during the year of 2023, we took on paying the bills and going on over those every 2 weeks. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I spend several hours every 2 weeks going through all of those bills and invoices. That was an added project for us. So once again, I don't have a problem with that, but I would like to take it out of our budget, either technical equipment or miscellaneous contractual. I would like to reduce the miscellaneous contractual, which I don't know why we need that, since we've got tech equipment in there. The only miscellaneous contractual that we've ever used is we've had an outside attorney from a lawsuit, and I don't believe that that should be falling under this purview. And we shouldn't have to have a lawsuit against the city council. So I'm not against it if we take it out of our budget that we have proposed.
All right, Appreciate that, Councilman Fordyce. Councilman Brunner.
Just to add to what the fellow councilmen have said, I think with the new mayor, he's doing a great job bringing a lot of things to us. We've had a very much anticipated meetings, and I think that just the simple fact that we've gone from like an hour per meeting to maybe 2 hours per meeting. I think we're also spending more time. No, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I think he and I, when we have our meetings, I tell him I think he's doing a great job because he's bringing a lot of new things to us. So I think just that simple fact is a reason for a small raise also.
Great. Thanks so much, Councilman Brunner. I just chuckled because we've had some long meetings for sure. Okay. Anybody else have input on that? Councilman Klein.
Yeah, the only, and you beat me to it, the only way I can see to vote for a raise for us with a straight face is that if it has zero effect on the whole council budget, take it from someplace else and put it up there. Don't rate, I mean, that's the only way I can do it with a straight face.
Yeah, we don't want to give up that council in the black. We don't want to give that up. So I concur on that. Any other council members have any input on that? Mayor?
Yeah. I just speaking from a high level on this, I think we've engaged in some unhealthy practices from elected official raises over the years, and now we was put in a situation where we are now. So I think that it's incumbent on us to fix that. So you guys shouldn't have to go 20 years, mayor's office shouldn't have to go 16, and et cetera, et cetera. So I think that now if we look at this correctly, we should be able to come in and fix this as a team. You guys deserve a raise. You're working hard. I appreciate you all. And the controllers, their office is almost done doing the calculations of what that 5% would add. And once they have it, it's not that much. If you were to remove it from miscellaneous contractual services, then I think it takes the salaries to total like $81,300 something, and then
$9,061.90.
Yeah, I mean for the total everybody's added together.
Yeah. Yep.
That's $3,883.59 for 9 counts.
Yeah, so then she'll have all the totals, and so it wouldn't be that much to remove or reduce for the other place.
Great, I appreciate that. So, in fact, I mean, I'm glad you brought up the miscellaneous contractual. I was going to have a discussion on that as well. That we just kept in there because I wanted to have this discussion in more in depth because I know that was just for outside counsel, which I agree with Councilman Fordyce. I don't foresee needing that unless there was a particular ordinance that maybe we wanted to craft that we didn't really feel like it was necessary to pull the city attorney for that. I don't know. I mean, who knows? I'm okay with cutting definitely 10,000 off the miscellaneous contractual, but I'm even for totally dropping the whole thing if everyone agrees with that.
I would, if I may, I wouldn't take it completely away in case, just in case, I'm speculating, just in case we have to have it. You're only talking about $38.83 off of it, so it's still going to leave you, $16,000.
You're still gonna have to account for taxes and retirement and the other benefits.
The perk,
that
all
come
that,
along.
have to, but that's
So it'll be just a
that's-
hair more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But once we run it through the
Yeah.
controller, it's $3,883.59, and then you will have taxes included in on that stuff. So, but I'm just saying, instead of getting rid of it completely, and I'm just a little bit leery that if we do that and then have to have it if we can't use the city attorney, we can't use the city council attorney, we have to hire an outside attorney, we've got a little buffer.
Okay.
If that's suitable with the controller's office. Dana and Linda, will that work?
So yeah, as they're figuring out, I would say whatever that total calculation would be, if we just did the 5%, and then
Deduct it from
subtract
miscellaneous
off
contract.
of the miscellaneous contractual, like round down to the nearest 100, just because I like clean, even numbers.
I
yeah.
agree about taking it out of there as well, but I also agree with Councilman Fordyce about, we don't want to leave it empty, because the reason we had to use outside counsel, and we had that before, had nothing to do with the administration. It was not an issue between that. It was an issue with something outside of here that we needed to take a stand and fight for the citizens.
Yeah.
That put us in here to do that, to fight for them. So I would leave what's left in there as well.
Sounds great. Yeah, my other thought is if we didn't, then we can always pass something, but again, that's a delay. So I'm okay with that too. Everyone else is.
The
Mayor?
total is $4,615 with everything together.
So I would just say, can we just drop our miscellaneous contractual down to 15,000? Everyone good with that? Just even, clean number. Gives us a little, puts us a little more in the black. How about that? So, and my personal opinion is I'm neutral on it. I don't care whether I get a raise or not. Truthfully, like I probably would do this if it was free, because I'm just that kind of guy. I'm on so many boards, it doesn't matter. So, but I'm neutral on it. I do think, we do put a lot of time and work, and I'm not asking for this, nor will I push for it. But to be fair too, I actually think the council president's position should probably get a little extra pay, because there is a lot involved, but I would not ask for that. Anybody that sat in this seat can probably understand that, but I'm not asking for it. I'm just being real with you. It does require extra. Yeah. No. I would vote against that if it was proposed, but I'm just saying. So anyways, anyone that's out here can understand. So, all right.
You're
Yeah,
right.
thanks.
You are right.
I got your back.
Okay. All right. So yes, I just say drop the miscellaneous contractual 15, and then you can add that 5% in, and all the other things that adjust with that. So great discussion. Appreciate that. I just wanted to be a group discussion on that. Anything else? I will say, actually, I will add on the technical equipment. The reason, so we took money out of travel and training and moved it into technical equipment because the discussion was had that if we decided to get new microphones for the council chambers, there's some money in there, but I'm still not convinced that we need anything yet. Actually, Danny, I think, might have solved the issue after that last meeting, but I think
we have microphones.
yes. So, but I just thought we have it in there just in the event that some of that's laptops. So if our laptops break, stop working, cell phones, anything like that, that would fall under the technical equipment. But I don't foresee us needing that, but it's there just in the event worst case scenario happens with our equipment. So anybody have any other questions or anything they want to talk about for our budget? All right, sounds great. Well, we'll continue on then. And I was asked, Vice President Calgill asked me to start with Rose from the Parks Department, if that's all right. She always goes last. She's just looking out. So Vice President Calgill made that recommendation. So Rose, if you want to come on up. I know. Trying to find it here. Maybe it's towards the end here, if I remember correctly.
3 from the end. 3 from the end.
There we go. Yeah. Okay. So we'll just open it up. If anyone has questions, they can ask it. If no one ends up having questions, you got an easy night. And Mayor, of course, you're always welcome if you wanted to elaborate on anything further within each budget as well, or things you want to highlight, you're more than welcome to. But any council members with questions for Rose from the Parks Department? Councilman Fordyce.
Hi, Rose. I can't believe they're putting you up here first. Anyhow, I've only got a couple questions for you, because we've been through this before. On Friendship Park, do you have enough money in there for maintenance to seal that, since we just spent $306,000 on that? And the reason is because there wasn't any money in there to maintain it and seal it, as you well know. First question. Second question is on the new equipment and surface down at Charles Mill. Does that require a maintenance and sealing since it is a foam product or rubber product? And do you have something in there to maintain that down the road?
Sure. As far as Friendship Corner, since we just put it down, it doesn't have to be
Microphone,
Oh.
red.
This one. As far as Friendship Corner, since we just put the surfacing down, it doesn't have to be sealed for 3 years.
Okay,
So, and that's
right.
gonna, well, it was around $60,000
Yeah,
to do that.
yeah.
So we'll have to worry about that in just a couple years to add it to the budget. But this year we don't need those funds. And as far as the fitness court, I'm really not sure if something needs to be sealed. Maybe the mayor might.
Or if there's a
might know,
maintenance
or
on,
maybe
is there a maintenance on that from when the product that we bought it? I just like to think ahead because we got hammered on this before
Yes.
on Friendship Park, and that was a big hit.
For the fitness court, I remember, if I remember right, I can't, is Randy here?
He's up there. He's
Yeah,
got
how long do they say that's supposed to last before we?
3 to 5 years, but they left replacement pads. So we have a few extra pads in case one does.
For
get
the
destroyed.
entire surface,
Yes,
so you can replace the whole pad and the whole surface.
they're 2x2 squares.
Mm-hmm.
So if a square goes bad, we do have replacement pads. And as far as the black border, we have some of that.
But the surface doesn't need any treatment due to sun and weather and
Not
snow
according-
and.
No, sir,
So,
not
and
according
you
to,
said it's a 3 to 5 year guarantee on it or warranty. What is the 3 to 5?
that's just how it was explained
How
to
is
me.
it, how is it 3 to 5? Is it
Exactly.
limited, unlimited?
Well, it's normal wear and tear, can be replaced. But if you get guys out there like what they did to our surface at the playground and they cut on it and all that, then no, they won't repair.
Yeah, because that's gonna be a problem.
Correct.
Probably.
So as far as the actual surface, whatever coating is actually on that when we get it, that's what's guaranteed, unless it's man.
Okay, so we don't have anything, Rose, built in to maintain that or in
We do not.
this? Okay.
No.
So that might be something we have to deal with in the future
Sure.
for that. Okay, thank you. That's all I got.
Any other council members?
Hello,
Hi.
thank you for joining us.
Mhm.
Is there anything you need that wasn't included?
Oh, well, we need lots of things.
I'm
I don't know
just-
that you have time.
Not wants, but needs,
Um,
anything safety related that could be a liability, that kind of thing is what I'm really trying to dive into.
What we run into each year with our budget is the replacement parts for our playground equipment that we now have. Friendship Corner, I mean, we get lots of vandalism. Someone set one of the slides on fire. It's $8,000, and so our deductible with the insurance is $5,000. So a lot of those parts and everything come out of our budget. So for the past few years, we've had thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars just in repair equipment alone. That's not built into our budget. We squeeze it out where we can, and we do the best we can. As far as needs, we do have a couple of shelters that are going to need roofs on them. And we've transitioned most of our shelters to metal roofing, just for long-term maintenance. We still have, I believe, 2, if I'm speaking right, Randy, that still need done. We were hoping to increase the budget this year for those. But that is once again up to the mayor, and that's the few things I can think of right off the top of my head is playground equipment for sure.
And one thing we did, if you look, because I wanted to, obviously my goal was to get the budget balance. So what I did was I inserted, I believe it's 120,000 into the edit fund for parks. And that's what we'll be able to use for improvements, repairs in the parks.
Perfect.
Any other council members?
Rose,
Oh,
how are we with the splash house? I mean, we've had that for a number of years now, as far as, like Andy was talking about, repair, maintenance. Is that in pretty good shape, or where are we at there?
So Splash House is in desperate need of some upgrades, and we're working on a chlorine system and chemical system that is kind of non-existent now. We are having a hard time getting parts for it. we're talking thousands, you know, a couple $100,000 to do that. Eventually, it's either going to have to be done or the park's going to be closed. But there are also all kinds of maintenance issues out there. We did, I think it was last year, built in $50,000 into the budget to help with the shortcomings of the splash house. But really, truly, that $50,000 doesn't even touch at the end of the year, end of the season, whatever you want to say, touch what they really leave us in the hole as. All of our rentals and things like that kind of help the splash house and help keep us from being in the negative. But the splash house does, and I suggest that all of you guys reach out to Andy. He would really know what those list of things are. And I know that he's over time gotten quotes and different things for some of those repairs.
And to add another thing that all the department heads are working on, have submitted to me preliminary, is the capital improvement plan. So what I think I started the first one, and I can't remember, I said that earlier this year, but we'll refine it in preparation for next year. So all department heads submit some of their top 3 needs and top 3 wants, and then once the year rolls over, we'll be able to ask for those things out from a capital improvement standpoint.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Devine.
So you have the parks budget, which is in the general fund, but then you've also got the parks fund,
Non-reverting fund.
non-reverting fund.
Mhm.
Can you not?
The Parks Department has their own property tax, they have their own.
Correct, okay, so park fund tax, we'll call it.
Yeah, they have a park fund and then they have a park non-reverting.
Okay, can you explain just for the newbies of us, what type of expenses you do out of that fund versus what's out of the general fund?
Sure. Non-reverting, we do all of our garden house repairs, softball, our programs, our shelter rental money goes in that account also. We process, it's a pass-through for Walkway of Lights. So we process all the bills for Walkway of Lights out of there. We process all of Splash House bills out of there, whether it be concession expense, payroll, so things like that.
I have a question. So if it's possible, how much are we operating in the negative from the splash house? If you could give a number versus how much we allocate from the fund versus how much you bring in revenue, like how far off are we to keep sustaining it?
So as of right now, where I entered my last bill, as of to date for the splash house, right now we're almost $1,000 in the negative. Now that only includes July bills. Once we do get August through, and then we'll do our month ends, then we'll have a better number then. But I would say probably by the end of the season, we'll probably be a good $75,000 probably.
Negative.
Mm-hmm.
Have we ever had a time where we've been in the positive?
Never.
Okay. Yeah. Which I get, it's a city provided park, but I'm just curious. So, okay. Any other questions, Councilman Brunner?
Rose, the calendar has kind of really changed around. I mean, I never once in my life ever went to school before Labor Day, and now we're going to school almost the start of August. Are you still able to maintain the same number of days that you've always had?
For the splash house? So when the kids go back to school, we go to weekends only. So the earlier they go back, the earlier we close during the week. So we've also are closed on Mondays. So, but other than that, I mean, Andy told the park board the other day that we've had a lot of rain and bad weather early in the season, and so that's going to affect the numbers at the end of the year.
Are your total days remaining about the same as they were 5 or 10 years ago?
No.
How are you down then? total number of days that you're open?
Yes, we didn't used to be closed any days during the week. I'm not sure why they chose to take Mondays. I'm not sure. But yeah, we used to be open 7 days a week, and the hours used to be longer also.
Okay, thank you.
That's a great question. This is a valid point, school opening earlier.
Whose decision is that to close on Mondays?
It was up to that administration, from what I remember, the mayor.
Okay. Any other questions for Rose?
Can Tuesday afternoons be council day then?
All right. Any other questions for Rose? Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much,
All right,
Rose.
thank
Appreciate you. Yeah.
Thank you, Rose.
You're welcome.
Okay. And let's go ahead and move to transportation. Find it in here. Welcome. Good evening. Okay. Let us all get to that.
Jeff's on his way back from a family get together in Texas. He and his wife flying back this afternoon. So that's why I'm here tonight.
All right. Give me one moment here. I should have put sticky notes to find it. Oh, okay.
Behind Parks.
There we go. There she is. Okay. All right. Well, we'll just go and open it up. Anyone have questions?
As you can see, our budget for next year.
Can you turn the microphone on for me?
There we go. Thank you, Mayor. Budget next year is right at approximately $1.7 million. We spent 1.4 million, give or take a few thousand last year. And we have subsidies coming in, which will, that and offsets, revenue offsets will account for about 68% reimbursement of those costs for operating expenses.
Thank you. Yeah, because that 68% comes from that grant that we get every year. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, operating grant. Plus we have capital expenses also. We're asking for 2 new buses next year we kind of rotate the vehicles to keep things moving smoothly. And so we've asked for 2 vehicles to be subsidized by NDOT and the Federal Transit Administration. And we're actually going to receive, because they have handicap lifts, we're going to receive 85% reimbursement or payment for those buses. And the local share would just be 15%, usually 80-20. So that's how we replace our capital equipment, by rotating them every couple of years, or every year. We normally like to rotate 2 units.
All right. And then do you have any plans? Is there plans on changing routes or adding routes, or is everything going to stay the same?
Stay the same. We forecast right now.
I know, Mayor, I think you posted something about offering rides, I think even to the city council meetings. Do you anticipate any extra expense from any of those extra services?
Yeah, so when I proposed that, we had to reach out to actually get approved to allow us to be able to do that, because the grant is really restrictive of how we can change routes and do different things. So and this is good for the public to know too. The routes, the hours, etc., are really controlled by the grant. So we're not at liberty just to change and add and move things. So for us to do that, city council service had to get permission to do that.
All right, thank you. Anybody have questions?
You said,
Go ahead.
you say you're getting 2 new buses,
That's what we'd like to do, yes, sir.
and where does that show up in the budget?
Well, that's part of our capital improvement that the mayor's.
Oh, where's the 1.692?
No, that's operating, sir.
I don't know.
So, well, real quick, Councilman Marshall, just so you know, because I don't think you were at the last one, were you? Were you at the last one? Were you? Okay. Couldn't remember. No, it was,
We only done this twice, right?
yeah. Couldn't remember who it was. So, yeah, so that's, the capital is going to be submitted separately. So
Okay.
that's not going to be in this.
All right, so well, then you have the line item where it says $20,000 for motor vehicles. What is that?
That's it, just in there for miscellaneous equipment or motor vehicles that we need, may have during the year. And that's kind of, it's flexible. We can use it for non-vehiclers, items such as, a copy machine or something like that.
All right. Councilman Brunner?
Have you added or subtracted any drivers at all, or is it 16 about what you normally have?
Right now we have 15 full-time and 2 part-time. Jeff has added 2 part-time drivers. They got their CDLs and they're right now going through their training. And so we're still at 18 employees, 15 drivers, our mechanic, and 2 administrative.
Thank you.
Sure. Actually, the personal services, salaries and wages and fringe benefits account for about 77% of these operating costs. So it's a highly labor-oriented business.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I think we're all set for transportation. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming in tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to go back to the front of the book for now, and we'll ask Controller Galt to come up, and we'll go over the controller's budget.
Good evening.
Welcome. Any council members have questions, or Mayor or Controller Galt want to share anything? Going once. Oh, Councilwoman Devine.
I think just to pose to you some of the same questions we've been posing, any major maintenance concerns coming up for the office, any major capital improvements? I know that we'll get this plan at some point, but just things you're thinking ahead over the next couple of years for.
No, we've really had a really nice remodel this year, so we're not looking for any capital improvement in our office or anything. So I think we're doing pretty well up there.
Any other council members? Okay, that was easy. Thank you. All right, and let's go ahead and move into Board of Works. Mayor, do you have anyone here to speak on the Board of Works, or is that going to be you? Okay, just want to make sure. All right, so any council members have questions on the Board of Works budget? Councilman Fordyce.
I just have one, Mayor. I know used to, and I'm sure that you've got this covered, but on Economic Growth Council, we used to give them 70,000, and then when the last administration, Economic Growth Council butted heads, he decided to cut that back. But I don't know if you've talked to Chuck on that or not, as far as helping the Economic Growth Council, because I do know that I think the county has got a new cut on that too, because of the legislation that they got passed in the back door on midnight. But I was just curious. I know you've probably got that covered, but I do know that's vital to our community. So if you'd address that, that's the only question I got, Mike.
So we've committed that same 40,000 to them, and we've actually, I'm a performance-based guy. So what we've done is we've reworked our agreement to where we pay them out monthly as opposed to one lump sum up front. We used to pay them $40,000 or $70,000 like all at one time, and now we do it in monthly installments to be able to make sure that we're working together very well. And Chuck has been amazing, and I think that going into the future, we could look at one day increasing that backup sum, but they were very happy and thankful to be still getting the $40,000.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Councilwoman Devine? Oh,
I was just going to say, under miscellaneous contractual, I see you guys increased that one by 53,000. What was the reasoning for that, Mayor?
That is, yeah. So I mean, if you look at the history of it, it went from like 158 to 316 down to 40 and down to now up to 93. So we added a few different things in there. This is to help out with, I think I said this before, so out of the mayor's budget, I removed travel expenses and other things and moved it to here. And then also this will help offset some of the additional costs for 4th of July this year. The total cost, so I think I went out and raised about $30,000. So I'm gonna try to do that again, but just in case we can't, I want to make sure that our 4th of July experience is the best in the county. So that'll help us be able to be able to make sure that that's true.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a quick question on that. So just out of curiosity, I guess it doesn't make a huge difference because you have a category already, the 339-31 for July 4th entertainment. Was there a reason that it wasn't put in that versus miscellaneous contractual?
No reason. I mean, if you would like to see it some more moved over there, that's okay. But I think that it gave us more flexibility because again, I might be able to go out and raise 50,000 this year, and I don't know how successful I'll be raising money.
Okay, now I see where you're coming from. Okay, I appreciate that. Councilwoman Devine, did you have questions?
I know we addressed health insurance the last meeting, and then looking at the budgets for the property, auto, cyber, liability, and so forth. I know it's way early to get those renewals. I assume we're on a January 1. Did they give any indication of what kind of percentage increase we were going to look at on those?
Which one specifically?
That would be in your insurance line items, work comp, liability, property, auto, cyber.
Yeah. So funny enough, Councilman McKinley asked me this too. So our property insurance actually went up, and there's the reason because we weren't accounting for all the things that we own. So I sent a team through, and we had an exuberant amount of things that we own that we weren't insuring. So I mean, it's not funny, but now we went through and got it all covered. So now everything we own is actually insured. So that will make that show an increase from last year. And we'll have a reduction in expenses on the health insurance. And then the same thing for auto. We were insuring vehicles that were just sitting over there in the impound lot, halfway tore up. And then we weren't insuring vehicles that people were actually driving. So we got it all sorted out. All our department heads worked out and went out, and I asked them to go and get every single VIN number, every single mileage of every vehicle we had, and now we have a solid inventory of all the things that we own, and that will keep that process going for all of from our lawnmowers to backhoes to excavators to normal cars to our gators. So all those things need to be insured, and they, quite frankly, weren't. So.
Just because I like to keep things local, who is our insurance company? Is it IMG covering that?
Yes.
All right, just making sure. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Well, Councilwoman Devine, you go ahead and finish since you had the floor already. And we'll come back to you.
That's all good.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then I had a note that it was talking about maintenance agreements, that you had a percentage in that. Do you know what maintenance agreements that was covering, just out of curiosity? That's repairs and maintenance agreements, 336-05. It shows 60,000.
Actually, I don't know. What is it?
And that's for all this, the whole citywide then? Okay.
All right, Councilman Marshall, did you have a question?
I want to circle back to the miscellaneous contractual. So we're increasing that by $53,000. And so I'm curious as to how much you would hope or potentially spend on the 4th of July, or how much of that would be, or what is the 53,000? Where's that coming from?
So to pull off the 4th of July experience we had this year, and everyone said they had a great time. If you missed it, you really missed it. We spent about $40,000 on fireworks. We spent about $75,000 to pull this year's thing off. And I went out and raised about 35,000 from local businesses and other businesses. So to pull the experience off that we want is about that.
75,000.
75,000 pull it off, right?
Okay.
So I think I can probably raise again another 35.
Okay, so pretty much that whole 50 is
a
to
lot,
cover, is
a
to
good,
cover
a good
that
chunk of it is
if you can't raise them.
if I can't raise enough money, that will go to help us out.
Okay,
Yeah.
now I understand better.
Vice President Cagle, did you have questions? Okay, thought you did. I know this was before you, but the one thing that did stand out under miscellaneous contractual was in 2023, the 316,000. But I mean, that's in the past, but I don't know what that was from, but it's, what was it from? The lawsuit? Great, glad that's over. Okay. Anybody else with Board of Works, Councilwoman Devine?
And then the transportation match, I noticed that was a new line item. That's the grant match that we were just talking about?
Yep.
Okay. And that has not been in there before, or was that kind of in a different line item and this is showing that out for transparency?
Yeah, so we always been paying the match, but I forgot for some reason we had to start paying it out of the general fund this year as opposed to where it used to come from.
So it was always in the general fund, but they required us to separate transportation from the general fund. That's why they're in Fund 2418 at the back. So we had to still budget the portion that the city is required to pay for the grant. Okay, makes sense.
I do have one question on the property insurance that Councilwoman Devine brought up about not knowing what increase might come along. And just experience, usually renewals will come out a month, 2 months in advance. So not knowing what it's going to be, and say it, I would anticipate it's probably going to be going up. All insurance has gone up. At that point, then would you come back and ask for an appropriation from us for that? I'm just making sure. Okay.
And we do that one time a year in like April or May, so we can.
Okay.
When it's that time, we'll see, like this year, for example, the cybersecurity was actually a little under $20,000. So that's why I know that it's gonna at least be that next year, so we increased it, but during that time, if we don't have the appropriation, it's in the categories, I think around in April, we'll come back and ask.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Any other council members for Board of Works? Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and move into community development. Just for you? Okay. All right, community development. Yeah, any council members with questions on that? Now I'm just kind of going one to the next, so that way we don't hunt. It's literally right behind Board of Works. Same section.
That's what I was doing.
Just for clarity, transparency purposes, the mayor, I think, cleared this up for me on my email, but under contractual services, the 83,000, that's actually, am I correct? That's actually going to pay for like the director or what? Can you explain that 83,000 contractual services for everybody?
So what we did is we had the person who ran our deputy director of community development retired. So I decided not to renew that position as a full-time spot. And then from that money, we were able to pay our grant writer in contractual services line item, our grant writer, our director of the city's director of economic development, and also the money asked for the traditional miscellaneous contractual services for the community development department. And from a number specifically, it's 20,000 for the grant writer, 40 for the economic development director, and 23 for other contractual services.
All right, thank you. Councilman Fordyce.
Yeah, Mayor, do we have a contract with the grant writer since he's a contractual service? You've got it. And also with the economic development, you got it. Thank you.
Any other council members for community development?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Councilman King.
Yeah, one of the questions, how, looking at raises, how are those raises determined for the two positions that are in that department?
Yeah, I think I said I misspoke last time. So all the budgets were done by the department head themselves. So what they submitted is what I received. And if I thought it was fair, I left it as it was. So what you see as far as salary increases across was what the department heads and theirs felt for their department.
Councilwoman Devine?
Are you done? Sorry. So to follow up on that, the rate that the director was making and now the supervisor of community development marketing, that position is now making more than what the director was making the year before. Has that job description been reviewed and the details changed in order to?
Right. So what the position we had before was deputy director. So I guess a little bit historical on that. The city of Marion used to have a director of development. And the previous administration cut that position when they took over. So then we were just left with a deputy director, no director, and then we had a director of community development and marketing. So what we did this year was change the name from director of community development and marketing to supervisor of community development and marketing, and that department head oversees the neighborhood association coordinator, the grant writer, and the director of economic development. So that when you say supervisor of community development and marketing, that is the department head of the whole entire department. So yeah, so the job description changed from being a reporting to somebody to now being a department head that manages 3 employees.
And is that Layla? Is that?
Yes.
Okay, let's make sure we're the right title there. Any other council members for community development? All right. We'll move forward then. And next page, City Hall maintenance. Is that you, David? I think that's you, right? Yep. Building and grounds. I think that's you. Come on up. Kudos for the air conditioning. Today was the real test for us, but it worked.
Thank you.
All right. Any council members with questions for City Hall maintenance? Give you a moment to
I don't
peruse
have
through.
so much of a question as I do a statement. It's not an easy job what you do. And we've had a lot of issues with remodels this year, with air conditioning, like we were just talking about, all kinds of stuff. Our flooring, I think you're doing an unbelievable job.
Thank you.
I really do. You're probably one of the hardest working guys at City Hall. I notice it. And sometimes, you know, you work hard and you wonder if it's unnoticed. It's not. You're doing a great job, dude. Seriously.
Appreciate that.
I will concur as a yard man myself. I've noticed the improvements to the landscaping and even the edging that I much appreciate around here. Thank you. Any other council members? Councilwoman Devine.
Sorry, I have lots of questions. So my one concern is in looking at past history, your budget in 2023, it looks like you spent about $344,000. And then this year's budget is at 269, plus we gave almost 50,000 in additionals, which would put it over 300,000. So I guess my concern is this budget enough? I mean, is what's budgeted in here, okay, not taking capital expenses into account, because I know that we're talking additionals for those, but that's my main concern is, since it's already shorter than the last 2 years, you know, each year, are we sure?
What I've got planned for next year, that's where I'm at, you know, trying to not put too much on the plate because we have been doing a lot. We're just trying to get there, you know, right, Mayor? And you're saying that's where we're at right now to go for.
So I mean, it's hard. We don't know if something goes catastrophically wrong. We'll come and ask to help out. But as far as the improvements we want to do, we have it written in there. And also, one improvement you'll see in my edit fund ask is for the city hall bathroom. So I budgeted that out of that line item to be able to relieve some of the stresses of this budget.
And I think that that's kind of where I was going was, is there more building structure items that need to be done? He just addressed the bathrooms, but things that we need to keep looking year over year to keep working ourselves forward. Will that be part of that capital improvement plan you're working on, or do you know already?
Yeah,
kind of a list?
The biggest cost, that I've been here for 3 years has been our heating and air. So we're setting up an agreement with a company to come in to keep that preventative down so they can come in, monitor that stuff. That's never really happened before. I want to get back on track on that to keep that big cost down on there. So that's one thing, especially like in my maintenance agreement, you can see that's where a lot of that's at, keeping our floors down, scrubbing and recoating, doing that kind of stuff, our parking lots, we got them paved, they're going to have to be recoated and striped. We still got the MPD, the hole that has to be done, the dock. So that's part of that maintenance agreement that we're trying to do next year too.
One thing I address from a capital improvement from this is when you feel air or heat in here, it's either full blast air or full blast heat. So you're either going to be hot or you're going to be extremely cold, because the controls, like you for fun, sometimes just go flip the controls, they don't work, right? So one of the larger expenses from our capital improvement to address what Councilwoman Devine is saying is going to have to be about getting our control panels fixed. It's not cheap either. Like, we've got a few quotes and plan already of like $500,000 worth of stuff. So it's gonna be a big ask, but none of the air is controlled by anything right now. It's either he goes and flips a switch and it's all air conditioner, freeze to death, or flip a switch and it's all heat. That's all we got.
Yeah, that's gotta be fixed, so you're right.
Councilwoman Devine, did you have anything else?
Just out of curiosity, what's institution and medical in your budget? Is that just a strange line item title? It's at 222.03, part of garage and motors. There's 9,000 in it. I just didn't know what that meant.
I'm not real sure myself, but yeah, it could be just for maybe some of our supplies or something, maybe that we use something, because everything, in here, if there's lights or bolts and screws, key fobs, doing that stuff, just trying to keep that stuff updated. It's depending on which group that's coming out of.
I know sometimes those line items have old tags.
Okay.
Any other Councilwoman Devine under that category? All right. Hey, it's okay. That's why we're here. Questions? Any other council members under City Hall maintenance? All right, last thing I have is just have a one maintenance work request. We have a light out right here, just so you know, David.
Got it.
No rush. All right, we'll move on. Thank you so much.
Hey, we might be able to take that $500,000 out of the president's extra money.
Yeah, okay. Jokes. Okay, moving into city court. I don't think, I had emailed Debbie and she didn't really have anything to say, but I don't know if anyone has any questions. Maybe the mayor can answer, or if you had questions that maybe I could help with, because I did talk to Debbie a little bit. She was involved in, no, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the wrong category. Never mind. I'm thinking city clerk. So city court. I think the mayor, I emailed you on this one, right? You answered on that.
Yeah.
So if anyone has questions, I guess direct it towards the mayor.
I'm just curious about the red ink. Why is that there? Or is it just accidental?
What is it now?
I have 3 lines that are printed in red for some reason.
I think it's just your book.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like, whoa, that seemed odd.
You got this special.
Yeah, yours are, yeah, ours is the same. Okay.
Oh. No.
Eric, you won the drawing.
We just wanted to see if you're paying attention. You did.
I'm trying.
But no, I think ours are all black, unless it's supposed to be red ink in all of ours. Okay, got it. All right. Councilman King.
There's a position that's been cut, and that's the bailiff. Reasoning behind that?
When I talked with John, he said they don't use it. He said they haven't actually had one in the last year or so. So the position was there, but nobody hadn't hired anyone to fill it, so they didn't need it, and they so they can cut it out.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Also, I know, I mean, a lot of it we're doing video now, so maybe less need for a bailiff too. Councilman Fordyce?
Yeah, Mayor, on this, the reason that we raised this $25,000 was for blight, because this judge was supposed to dedicate more time through the week, an extra 2 days through the week to process blight court cases. I was just wondering if that's holding true, because it was normally at $30,360, and the reason it was that low is because it was just 2 days a week or court dates. But then we added 25,000 to kind of expedite the nuisance abatement and blight problems with the backed court logs, because it was backed so long. And I was just wondering how that's working out with the raise to this judge and city court, if he's processing those faster for Jerry.
So things are going okay. I mean, we're navigating through the first year of this. We're actually exploring the process to possibly get that through the Board of Works instead of the court. We get in the trick bag because I don't think we can reduce any salaries of elected officials. So the 55,000 is what it is, but we're trying to work what we can, the best that we can, to make sure we get those things moving faster.
Thank you.
Any other questions under city court? All right, we'll move on to legal department. Mayor, you're going to ask questions and answer, or Mayor and Mr. Hotz. Welcome. Any questions under legal for any council members? Give everyone a moment. Mayor, you want to add anything or? Okay. All right, I don't see anyone speaking up, so. Oh, Councilman Klein.
I think I know the answer. Contractual services 134-0, was that the lawsuit?
No, historically, Mr. Hunt was paid as an independent contractor, but as you know, there is a statutory test for what an independent contractor is and what an employee is, right? And so the problem there is you don't really meet the test of it. So statutorily, there is a legal department because we're a Class 2 city that I'm technically in charge of hiring any legal counsel for the city, and there's certain statutory obligations that I have to fulfill, and also, operate under the direction of the mayor. So, you think about an independent contractor, it's kind of like, hey, come in here and take a tree down. You don't ask questions, right? And that's really not what that role looks like. I don't know why it was set up that way, but that's the way it was set up. So we just kind of corrected that as we came into this administration. It's an odd time because if you don't do it right, they'll come back and say you should have withheld taxes for that person the whole time and charge a bill times 8 years. So hopefully nobody's listening to that through DLGF or anything like that. So there's a statute of limitations on that.
we righted the ship, we're good. And if we aren't, then we've got you to represent us.
Hopefully so. Yeah, I would say that, I just want to put a plug in too for administrative assistant here, Winnie Gilbert. She's been doing a great job. It's not an easy. We kind of collapsed a couple different. Used to be Tom and Herb, and Herb's kind of medical reasons stepped aside, so we kind of all collapsed it down into me in some shape or form. She's done a really great job in that department, and we've also worked with the Mayor's blessing too on just digitization and transparency. So unfortunately, it's just kind of a turning point. We kind of inherited a lot of boxes and a lot of, hey, where's that at? And so we've moved towards the legal system. So if I get hit by a bus or I get fired or something like that, there's a password, and all that information just ports over to the next administration. So we've done a lot of work to make sure that every contract, everything that we sign is there and searchable. So that's a real big push for the mayors and his agenda to make sure that we're digital and we can find things. So.
I'm glad you said that about Whitney. You're right. I'm up there quite often, and she does work really hard. She comes from a good family. Thank God she's like her grandparents. So.
Yeah, it's no small things, and she's, you send an email at 10 o'clock at night and she's hitting you back, and you're like, whoa. Yeah. Like, what are you awake? So.
All right, any other questions from the council or legal? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, and then moving on to city clerk now. I know a little bit about it, like I said, talking to Debbie, but maybe the mayor can ask questions. Anyone have questions for city clerk? I will say Debbie was satisfied with all. I mean, I emailed her, she was happy with everything. The one thing in the email, this year we went to Otter AI software. Basically is what records our meetings and translates it and converts it into our minutes. Of course, it is scrubbed by Aisha, our deputy clerk, to give us our summarized minutes. But that software is included in their budget. That is that's really the only new addition. And they did actually fill that second deputy position. We have can't remember her name, new lady as second deputy now in the city clerk's office. So those are the only updates. Anyone have any questions for city clerk?
And they removed the part-time person then with having the second deputy, I assume?
Yes, yeah. Okay. Well, so with the previous city clerk, they kind of kept her on for a little while to help transition, but I don't think that's needed anymore. Any other questions for city clerk? All right. Mayor, anything on that? Okay. Okay, moving along to the mayor's office. All right, Mayor, do you want to start by saying, since it's particularly your office? If not, we'll open it up for questions.
Nope, I think we can take questions.
I'd like to make a comment, I guess, kind of start going off from where I started about raises and stuff. He's deserving of this raise. Like I said, I can't believe that it went 16 years for the mayor's office, for the city of Marion, that didn't have any raises. That was ridiculous. We all know how hard our current mayor is working. The things he's doing, that's more than well-deserved. If anybody has problems with that, they have no idea what's going on. So,
any other questions? Councilwoman Devine.
So you removed all the travel and subscription and dues and promotional and all that. And you put that out into other departments or in the Board of Works specifically? Yeah. Okay. What about any of your maintenance needs, like your auto repairs or contractual services for, your equipment, things like that?
So the only equipment I guess we're talking about the vehicle that I have. That's under the police's fleet. Yeah. Mhm.
Just out of curiosity, is there a reason why it's not under the mayor's office budget?
I think historically, since the mayor got a vehicle in Marion, it's always been a police man. I mean, from as long as it's always been that way. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. Which that's not a valid reason to do something, but that's just how yeah. So,
Gotcha. Okay, any other questions?
No, just the comment that, I mean, obviously transparency and stuff, and I know it's covered, but I'm not sure putting it in a different budget outside of the mayor's budget for some of those things maybe to me, and maybe I'm the only one who feels that way, but I think departments should reflect what they do and should reflect their expenses properly and not be moved into other department areas. That's just my opinion. I don't know how everybody else feels, but I understand kind of the thought process behind it, but
No, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, I think things should be listed underneath each individual department. I mean, but I will say, I mean, I appreciate you telling us, where it's at. So, but just for on paper, black and white, it would be nice to see it under one specific department if it's going to be spent out of that
I mean,
department.
that doesn't bother me at all. We can put it back and just take it from that Board of Works line item.
I think too, also just for future, in 4, 8, 12 years, say you've moved on or whatever, just for historical purposes, so we kind of know, hey, this is where we've been at, instead of having gaps and going, well, we don't know how much we spent and where did that come from. So that would be nice.
Yes, we'll get that put back in there in that same format. But then you'll see the Board of Works miscellaneous reduce.
Yeah, it'll be a wash, just moving from one to another. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions under the mayor's office?
I have one. I'm just curious on where it says insurance, workers' comp and liability. There's nothing there. Why is the line? Why are the lines there? Are they required to be there, or do we not pay workers' comp for this department?
Yeah, it used to be in every department, and then it got moved out, and it's all in the Board of Works. So everybody in the city of Marion is under the Board of Works except for street and park and transportation. So all the other general fund is in the Board of Works.
Just for people listening online, Linda said it's all under Board of Works, so, or most of it, so it got moved. So yeah, these are just old line items that, I don't know, we can't remove necessarily, but they have to stay there with nothing in it. Any other questions under the mayor's office budget? All right, we'll move on. On to engineering and planning department. Mike, come on up. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. So as pretty much the line says, it's now engineering and planning. Last year, the departments were separate, so we've combined those departments. So as you look down the current and the proposed, the reason why you might see increases, it's not so much that there's any increases other than the request for the salary. It's the combined two departments have just, what was two separate ones are now one. So.
Your job description reflect that?
Well, it doesn't have traffic on here though. So.
All right.
do we know how much the planning budget was, out of curiosity? Does that make up, because I noticed that it was like a 21% increase in yours. So we still had some savings from the planning department budget being pulled in.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so if you look at the previous year, Sam had a salary, Sam Ramsey, who was the planning director, had a base salary of, what was 57? Somewhere in there. And the mayor, as a incredible negotiator that he was, got me dirt cheap. So I didn't get the 57,000, so I only got 15. That's what I agreed upon. So there's a savings in the salary portion that would have, if the departments would have stayed separate, that there probably would have been that additional funds. So that's why. Salary, insurance, perf, that all breaks down in that.
And that engineering planning assistant, is that a new position or is that the position coming over from planning?
Yeah, that's Lisa. Lisa has always kind of assisted in the engineering department, but yeah, was planning. So yeah.
You have the increase in your salary, but you're also running 3 departments now, which is a savings to the city.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, but that's correct. Yeah, that's
That's
reflecting of 3 different departments. Correct.
So just from hearing, so we had 3 departments: engineering, planning, traffic.
Correct.
And at one point, we actually had 3 separate departments. Is that correct?
Well, the traffic has always been a red-headed stepchild. Unfortunately, no one really wanted to take it. Many years ago, the engineering department brought it in there, the wing, because they're the only one that had any kind of funds directly relatable to what the traffic department does. So I've just kind of held Rhonda under my purview. She gets paid by the public or the street department or citywide maintenance. So she's directly under them, but she works under my purview to assist me with signals and signs and that type of stuff. And then my budget, which we kind of talked about in the first meeting, I had requested some funds for that to offset the costs associated with equipment and items that she needs. And the mayor said that if we wanted to come back in, we might come back in for an appropriation later. But just to give you, for instance, that anybody that's noticed or driven by Wabash and Kim and the lights in activation, that light has been a headache from the time that we activated it. So now we're gonna have to buy a whole new controller, and we've gotten estimates between $15,000 and $20,000 for the controller. We're literally it's being held together with some duct tape on a fuse that keeps falling out.
Is that because I live there and I go there? I mean, it makes me dizzy half the time because I'll go one way and it's flashing.
Yeah.
I'll come back.
And it's
a
active
light.
again.
So then I've caught myself sitting at a flashing light waiting for. I mean, so is it doing it automatically by itself?
Well, when the 24 volt system finds it's got a conflict, then it'll automatically go to the red flash, and then we'll have to go back out there, find out what the issue is, get it reactivated.
So it's like a default thing. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it automatically goes red as a default, so that everything, like all the intersections are red. So.
Okay.
Yeah. But so far,
we're trying to fix it.
yeah. So far, it's been working. So this is the longest it's worked, for several days. So we're very happy about that. Yeah.
I heard that.
I probably go through it more now just to check to make sure that it's working.
Okay, all right. I do want to add something. I don't know if it's in here or not. I didn't email it either. It just came across my mind. And I know I've talked to the mayor about this, and I don't know if I've talked to you, Mike, but Just I know we're replacing, the street signs, the named street signs, but as far as the larger ones that are over the intersections, was that already, do we have money this year for that? Or is that in the plans to replace those ones that are actually on those overhead lights?
So short answer is no. We'll do those in-house just because of the sheer size. And there isn't very many of them actually, but majority of them that you do see are on the state roads, and they won't let us change those out. They will remain green and white. It won't follow our suit.
So like the ones at the city, though, on the city streets, I think they're green and white right now. Are you planning on replacing those with black and white to match them? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's it. That is what we want to do. But again,
Okay.
I pay for all the blanks, I pay for all the film, and sometimes we're just have to wait and see. So,
Do we have money in the budget for that? Or is that going to be part of some other like capital improvement, or is that already kind of absorbed in, or do we have money this year already to replace those larger ones over the intersection?
so there is no set budget for the traffic department. As I said, there are line items within my budget, either street maintenance or local road and street or CCD, CCI. There are funds to take care of that. I would love to, going forward, for whoever takes my position, to have a line item in here that represents the usage of traffic. So it's not so much commingling, but so we can identify what's being spent for that department, as opposed to taking it from something we may want to do for street work or something. So eventually I'd like to get to there, but I think that's for the future.
I would agree 100%. I think we like the B word down here, blight. I think we have traffic maintenance blight that's been neglected. I mean, I think it's Washington and 30th, or somewhere along Washington, like literally the sign overhead looks like it's from 1940s. It's so.
Can you read the sign? Just curious.
It depends on the height the light hits it, but I mean, so those are the things that people see, and I know the mayor is aware of it. We've talked about it a lot, but I just wanted to make sure that it's on the radar, because if we're going to replace all the regular signs, let's replace the ones overhead. But also to the point of the state highways. So before I was on the council last year, just out of curiosity, I called the NDOT about those because I was just curious, how do we do that? And they told me that the city has to just request a permit, and then we can put a sign overhead when they approve it. So I don't know if you're.
Yeah, I mean, we can do that, and that will be part of their update along State Road 18, but they will not be black and white. They've pretty much told us that.
Yeah, and that's fine. My point is that we have many intersections on the bypass and 18. I had a count actually at one point last year, but less than half or around a half of the actual light intersections on our state roads actually have the sign up above. Now I know in the corner of the intersection there might be a sign, but I'm just be real. If I'm coming through the bypass at 40 mile an hour, I'm not looking to the corner for a sign. I just think it would look good and help people navigate better if we actually had on every single one. And I'm not sure, I don't think it would cost us that much. I mean, to make those, is there an estimate on that?
And again, which we pointed it out, and the mayor has too, along with some of the conversations that he's had, they're aware that we want those updated. And I think that they're looking a little bit more favorably than they've had in the past. So my hopes is as we do some of the projects that we're looking forward on State Road 18 and State Road 9, that we'll start seeing them take responsibility up above, as opposed to everything coming down to the city to try to maintain. So,
but I mean, what can we do to get some up to the intersections that don't have any? I mean, can we?
Again, it's a request, as you said. We can contact our, if we're aware of it, and we can. It's not a permit because that's their intersection. So we just need to request their sign group to, go out there and take care of it.
I would fully support that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Councilman Brunner.
All of a sudden, my microphone's not working.
Where's Danny?
You probably could answer this better than anybody in Grant County, and I probably had more questions about this bridge than any other item in Grant County. What's the latest on the bridge down by Green's Golf Land on the way out of town?
So State Road 9 Bridge over the Mississippi. So last conversation I had was not too long after the 4th of July. I had an initial conversation with them on the 4th of July when we were talking about the celebration that we were going to have and whether or not we could gain access under the bridge for that day, which they granted the access. At that point, what they're waiting for is the steel structure. And as of a month ago, they're still waiting. So we're talking July, August, well over a month from my initial conversation. They're still waiting on the steel. I don't know that their time frame. They've assured me that they believe that once the steel comes in, they're still going to be done by November. I highly am apprehensive that that will be the case. Because I don't know where the steel's coming from, but I know that they said that they're waiting on the steel, and without the steel, they can't pour the deck. But as much as it pains me to not have the bridge, my hope is that if it gets into the walkway of lights, and we're still in the same position that we are, that they'll open it up so that we still have access for the walkway of lights. That was my last conversation. Please guarantee us that we can use it if it's still down. So, but NDOT's not giving me a whole lot more to give to you or to the media, and their media people are not very responsive to that answer either.
I asked this question, is it possible we'll be looking at the same situation next April?
I would hope not, but I'm not. I certainly couldn't guarantee that. Unfortunately.
A lot of people are driving a lot of extra miles.
Yes. Well, and it backs up in a lot of different areas around town too. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions under engineering and planning? Councilwoman Devine?
So you have the general fund budget, but then you're also managing the motor vehicle highway, the local road and streets. Are those mainly the matches to the transportation grant, or what kind of, again, as newbies, what's kind of the difference between what you're budgeting out of those versus the general
So
fund?
obviously what you see before you is what you allocate. The local road and street, MBH, CCD, CCI, those are all state, either coming from wheel taxes. Obviously we have wheel tax now, wheel tax, cigarette tax, fuel taxes. That's where those monies are generated from. That's why you as a council don't sit and regulate that, because quite honestly, most of the time, we don't know what those numbers are until well into the budget itself or the season itself, which makes it difficult at times for me to budget and allocate stuff based on, I can only go on historical data, what we've done previously, and in hopes that we're not going to see a big cut. I can't tell you, even with property tax cap, and if whatever happens with the governor, how that might change the whole dynamics of things too. So, but yes, what you deal with just here is just what is allocated. I did make a conversation, if I might, Nick asked me a question about the MVH fund, and several years ago, MVH kind of allocated what the funds could be used for. I did have a budget of about 500 and some odd thousand, but in order to make the MVH fund work the way that it needed to, I decreased my budget and then took over some of the MVH funds that I hadn't normally gotten before, but because of the way that they want to allocate for roads, that was the easiest way to do it.
It's just Jim's. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Graft? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah. I would add for the mayor, in the future, Just the salary for that position. I just think there's some way there's a lot of hats being worn in that position. I would, and I know we already gave an increase, but Mike, he does a lot, and he probably reports more information to the council than a lot of others. So I would just support looking at that in the future. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to make a comment on that because you're exactly right. Normally, most city engineers make six figures well over. I mean, the reason that Mike was part-time with the city as an engineer and working for IMI is because we didn't have enough money in the budget to pay him the correct amount so he could work full-time. With his degrees and everything, you're not gonna hire just an engineer for less than six figures. Plus, he's doing head of engineering and planning. So Nick's exactly right. I mean, if Mike gets ready to retire, you're definitely going to be looking at six figures for an engineer. There's just no way that you're going to get around it. That's why we had him as part-time, and he worked for IMI, and we just got lucky and he agreed to do that. And then he retired, and we're still getting real, real lucky. So you might think about that in the future there. Thank you.
Or if there's anywhere we can trim a little here, a little there to do it this year, I would be all for it. Even though Mike has to put up with me too, so that you probably should go to raise for that too, right? All right.
And at 11, 12 o'clock, midnight meetings too.
The emails, meetings, hey, that's on the mayor. All right, okay, we'll move on to building department. All right, Jerry, come on up and sure, no problem.
One thing I'll add on this is I talked with Councilman Cowgill and took his recommendation, and there'll be a salary adjustment to the building commissioner's salary, but that's not going to change the bottom line of the budget. So you'll see an adjustment to that one.
Can you give us a heads up on what that is? The adjustment?
What? I sent it over. I think it takes it now to 69. It's $5,000 increase. 69,000 and whatever. $69,441, and that also obviously affects Social Security and PERF as well. So it'll be a total increase from last year of about $9,000 and change.
I appreciate you adjusting that because just like what we was just talking about with Mike, it's the same way with Jerry. Jerry's running three very difficult departments: the building department, the nuisance abatement, the animal control. And that's why I talked to you, and I appreciate that you listened to me and did that.
All right, any council members with questions under building department? Councilman Fordyce.
Yeah, I guess this would be for Dana and Linda. If we could get those, is it going to be total 69,444? Does that include taxes and everything on that? I mean, that's the new gross salary is 69,444.
Yeah, so the actual salary with the top line, it would be $69,041, but then that will obviously increase the taxes, the PERF, and Social Security. So,
Sure.
so the total increase won't affect the bottom line of the budget. It'll be removed from other spaces to make sure it stays. So the total budget still stays at.
In the building department.
Yeah, in the building department. So the total budget still stays at $1,095,867.
So do you know where you're going to take that from yet, Mayor?
So I was exploring it today. I think we're gonna take some of it out of the.
You don't have to answer today. I was
okay.
If we can get that updated,
Okay.
I'd appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, any other questions for Jerry and our building department? I do have one question actually, and I didn't email us. I just caught it. Under demolition, we have 250,000. But just out of curiosity, Jerry, I mean, with the rate at which we're going now, I mean, we've approved a lot for demolition. Do you expect, or maybe Mayor, you can answer this, are we not going to be able to spend all of this year? Will that move into next year? And can we continue adding to that 250,000?
No, we'll probably use most of it this year, along with the $1 million that was from the ARP money that we were given. We now have outside contractors getting ready to demo. We put out this week 11 properties, get estimates on. We took 11 properties or 12 properties to the Board of Works last week to get approval on, or this week, I guess it was. We got approval on those. At our next Board of Works meeting, we're taking an additional 12 properties. And then the following Board of Works, we're taking another 11. And we probably have out approximately 40 letters, 10-day letters right now to individuals. So this is going to be a very aggressive year. So we're going to go through a lot of money very quickly.
All right, great. And then, so you and Mayor can answer this then. So do you anticipate just having 250,000 for demo next year, or are you going to come and ask for more on top of that?
So the budgeted wise, I think we're safe at 250,000, but also we're in the ready program for the blight elimination. We made it to the next round. So that's another $1 million we asked for too. So if all things work out, the state should send us another $1 million. That's not guaranteed, but we made it. They say what we've done so far, we made it to the next round, looking positive. But that $250,000, I think, will be safe for us from a budgetary standpoint. And if we get to the point where we get enough through in the pipeline, we need some more money, I think we can come and ask for. Say we need however much more to tear some more down.
All right, great. Thank you. Any other council members? Councilman Kane?
Just a comment. I am so thankful for this administration and for you, Jerry, to be so aggressive on blight elimination. I think if the citizens of Marion aren't appreciative of that, they're missing what's going on. So I, for one, and I think I can speak for the whole council, we appreciate you, what you're doing.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Jerry? Councilwoman Devine.
Just a couple things. So your budget also is animal control, and I apologize if you asked this while I was out, or if you answered this while I was outside. Does this also include the improvements that the animal control, the shelter needs? Or is that in a totally different budget?
That'll be a part of our capital improvement when we come and ask for it.
That'll be part of the capital improvement, okay. And then I noticed the overtime budget is up quite a bit. Is that from your budget, or is that more the animal control side that's got the overtime going?
Well, we've used, we're in the hole, 400 and some odd thousand, or 400 and some odd % in the hole right now from animal control. So this will help offset that. But also, we've had some issues in our secretarial pool upstairs. We've used some money for that. On our citywide cleanups that we have, we'll use some money on additional monies on that to offset some of the costs. So will we use the full 25,000? Hopefully not, but we're going to use a chunk of it, yes.
Okay. And is the staffing at the right level for the animal control as well? Is that something that long-term we need to be looking at and be thinking about money-wise?
Well, yes, I think, we can always use more staff out there. We did through the controller's office and the mayor, we are using pro resources. We were able to hire a couple of additional people out there, which is helping their, basically kennel cleaners. They help clean the kennels and help just do things around there that needs to be done at the facility. So, again, we can always use more help, but by these 2 additional people that we could get in there, it's helping us quite a bit.
And my last thing is I noticed there was, in this year's budget, there was 170 in lease purchase, vehicle purchase and an MACC. I assume with some of that ARPA money that we bought something outright and that's why that's not in there anymore.
Yeah, so those are for vehicles, and so they're not gonna, animal control doesn't need vehicles every year. So that's why you're seeing it just pop up for 24, and then it wasn't previously or it wasn't the year before that. So yeah, those are just vehicle purchases.
Okay. No, I'm with you now, what MACC is, sorry. I wasn't thinking that. I was like, is that a big, one of the big excavators or something, so.
And we did purchase an excavator this year through the mayor approved it, and we're thankful because now we have 2 excavators that we can use on job sites. Makes it much quicker, and we could, eventually we're gonna be able to have one at one site and one at another site, which will help quite a bit.
I was just gonna ask you if that's helped out a lot, so it has.
Yes, yes.
Any other questions for Jerry? All right, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Moving into Information Technology Department. Danny, putting you to work tonight on these microphones. We think we have a dead mic. Sorry, Jim.
And that's the thing, I'm still getting sound.
Oh, it works. Hey, it works now.
Came over here, you didn't see, he came over here and fixed it.
Did you swap the mic out then?
No, but that's the thing. We're sitting there talking, the sound's still coming through the speaker. So I think it's something in the microphone. I do have a spare mic, and I'll
okay.
change it out in the morning. If I do it now, then I have to sync them all again.
No problem. Thank you. All right. Okay, so questions under Information Technology. I do have one question. Forgot to ask this, but as for our email system, since we go through Google, where's that covered under here? How much are we paying for our email system?
The email system with the storage, Google G Suite is basically, I think, about $1,100 a month, maybe a little more than that, $1,500.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody asked me about that.
That was me.
Oh, yeah.
So why that was a big chunk, that 300,000.
But we're basically paying for the G Suite. That's storage, their Google Docs, and then your email and that kind of thing.
Well, so I guess maybe that answer. So that comes back to like putting things in the right department. So we're paying for our email out of our telephone budget, correct?
Communication. Communication.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of, so the telephone's coming out of there, our Wi-Fi is coming out of there, our email, our subscriptions to emails coming out of there. I think that covers it all. Yeah, I mean, I guess we could go through and add that, but it's,
I will say probably years ago when all of this technology started happening, it was the Board of Works was the only place to
put
that money. So I'm just
old school terminology, I get it. Yeah, it's like when someone still asks you for your home number. Well, I don't have one, but I'll put my cell in there. So I get it. Just the thought, maybe we update it next year just to kind of realign those, but we'll get through it. Appreciate it. Are any other questions for Information Technology?
Does each department pay for their computer upgrades and monitors and things like that?
Yeah, right now that's how we pretty much do it. I have a little bit in my budget, as you can see, and normally I try to save that for my switches and things like that. But occasionally I'll run across somebody that needs something and maybe they can't get it. I'll help them get it because I think they need it.
All right. Any other questions for Information Technology? Okay. All right. We'll go and move on. Thanks, Danny.
Thank you.
Appreciate your help tonight. All right. And moving into the fire department. I know the chief told us last time he wasn't going to make it. So mayor's going to hold us down on this one. Any questions for the mayor under the fire department?
Can you remind us what staffing level they're at? Are they fully staffed or they still have openings?
They just went through a hiring process and they hired 5 new, and they'll take them to a fully staffed, and unless somebody retires or something like that. And then in their contract negotiation, which is done and signed, they'll now be budgeted for 61, which is reflected here, but they'll be budgeted for 61 firefighters. So they might have one more space left in the new year.
I'll piggyback on that question. So I know there's been some discussion all over the place about Station 1. If that were to come fruition and approved, does that 61 include staffing for that, or is that just a whole separate thing you're going to attack?
Yeah, I think that we will, address that when it gets done. But I think to operate with Station 1, to operate everything as is at Station 1, they'll need to be at 66 firemen at least, right? So we'll be able to address that when we had our meetings today about Station 1. We just got our RFPQs back, so realistically, it's looking like that should be done about the end of 2026, beginning of 27. Got a little bit of time.
Any other questions under fire department? Yeah. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to the police department. Chief Gilbert's here. Welcome, Chief. I think all the department heads were sticking around to the end here. I'm so sorry that you're towards the end. So
it's okay. Engineer Graft asked me to keep it going, so he's behind me. I can't see him, so.
All right. Okay, so we'll go ahead and open it up. Any questions for the chief or the mayor?
Same question about staffing. Where are you at right now?
We're at 44 patrol officers who are bona fide who can patrol. I think we're at 54 total, including rookies. And we have some in the pipeline. We have 3 who went to the academy. Just check that. We have 4 who just went to the academy today. We graduated 3 Friday before last. So we're moving right along, but still under.
So how many openings does that still leave?
Don't
I
make
just
me do
need
the
to know
math.
how many to keep.
We're budgeted for 62. We're at 54. So.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
This budget is for 62?
Yes.
And you're still looking to recruit?
You can turn your mic
Always.
on.
Always.
I apologize. So this is for 62. I've heard you said it personally and I've heard you say it publicly. You want more. That program's not going to stop, right? That you're
Yeah.
still looking to.
We're always looking for quality people. We want to
Okay.
stay fully staffed, whatever that number is.
Okay.
It's
I mean,
worth
I'm looking
saying.
at, is it an issue of raises versus manpower, or can they coexist?
I hope so.
That was gonna be my
That's
smart aleck
always
remark,
the
I
that's
hope so.
always the dilemma. It's the money available versus how many people and all that. It's a moving target, if you will. And but since I've been in the meeting, I've literally was just responding to an officer who just sent us farewell message for leaving today to go to Muncie PD. So today was his last duty day, and he was saying farewell, and I responded in the back of the room. So it's not only about hiring new people; it's about retaining the people we have too. So.
How long was that officer with us?
A little bit less than 8 years. I had him in the pipeline when I was chief before, and the Chief Haley hired him. Really as one of her first orders of business. So, yeah, big loss. But yeah, we want to start focusing on retention as well as hiring rookies. We've got to keep. We spend so much money on the guys we have, to lose them is bad business. So, it's another part of the equation, which means pay. This guy left. He makes no bones about it. He's got a new baby. He loves it here. He loves his partners, loves the work environment, the team environment, the family atmosphere. But for his family, he had to make a tough decision about the financial side of it. So, and he's a veteran officer. So it's hiring rookies is good. We need to focus as well on retaining the veterans we have. We spend a lot of money to get them capable, and then to lose them to another department just crushes. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of knowledge there, you're right, Dave. I mean, and that's been the problem again. We go back to what we started saying years, police and fire in Marion has been the most underpaid in our class of city for well over 20 years. And that's why we can't keep them. And we've got to figure out somehow, some way, I don't know, man, something. There's grant money out there for staffing. I don't know. We got to figure out something because.
Do you mind if I add a opinion piece to part of the conversation you had at the very beginning about raises for you guys? I think it's in a way about mindset. It's pervasive. If you take, I'm as conservative fiscally as anybody. Believe me, I live in Marion. I'm a taxpayer too, so I don't want you blowing my money. But I think it's pervasive when we start taking the approach that next year even for you guys, and you guys are politicians, so you don't win too many elections voting yourself raises too often. But at the same time, I think you have to, you have to, if you want to attract a quality candidate to run for mayor, you've got to pay. And it trickles down. If you want quality people to run for the council, you've got something has to be more than altruistic. We all have families, so it's the same way all over. So I think if you set the tone that we're going to pay for quality from the top down, I think it sets the tone for good candidates to want to come here. I just really do. I don't think it's selfish. I think it's the price of doing business.
I agree 100%, Dave.
You get what you pay for.
Yes, sir.
Like
Sorry, Mike.
What's that? Somebody? Did I miss something? Oh, you're talking to Mike. Okay.
Yeah, Mike Graft.
I just want to add on that. So, I mean, it's my first year in the council, and police definitely has a special place for me. Came from a police background. Fire does as well. I have a stepson on the fire department, so they all mean a lot to me. But I just wanted to talk particularly on the police. Mayor knows where I stand on this. We've got to find a way, and I know that's all talk. I mean, I've gone through this budget. This is the first budget I've gone through. I've been through this book. It's phenomenal. Mayor did a great job. Being a fiscal conservative, the fact that we can say we've got a balanced budget and we then look at projects on their own merit moving forward, as far as capital is great. We've got to find a way, and it's more than just talk. And I can say there are things being looked at, explored, options. I don't want any police officer or department to think we're just saying it to buy time with them. I can say that there are discussions, things that are being discussed that could potentially really help us with the police department and getting the pay where it should be. I'm just going to shoot it straight. For our population, our crime is, I would, my opinion, say above average as far as severity. And I hate to say that publicly, but the data is the data. I'm not saying police prevent crime necessarily. They do. It is a huge portion of it. A lot of what the job is reactive. We could go into a whole discussion about why crime is the way it is and society, et cetera. But what I can say is that when officers are running short, that backup that's not there could be the difference between life and death. And when you're not fully staffed and you're running shift minimums all the time, not only are you running, short staffed and your safety's at risk, but you're getting ran rampant. So just from my experience, hot, busy nights, you're running call to call to call. And then in the night, you're stuck writing 4 or 5 reports. There's your overtime. It's tiring. And, I just want to let Chief know and anyone else on the department, I'm sure it's been said many times before, but this is a new administration, we'll say a new makeup of a council, that it's not just talk. We are seriously looking at options. I'm not comfortable saying what they are at this point, but we are seriously looking at options to rectify this moving forward. Just can't. We have to approve our budget now, so we have to go through this motion. But I commend the mayor for not having to do it, but doing the 5.5% across the board, even though he didn't necessarily have to do it. But I will say it's not enough, and we need more police. We need to retain them, and we'll keep working forward. And the mayor's, I give Mayor credit. He is definitely exploring many options right now.
Yes.
So just not comfortable quite sharing that at this point. Okay. Any other questions? Anything else for Chief Gilbert? I will add, when we can get that pay up, maybe we can attract those officers back here.
Yeah.
And I know that happened in South Bend. They had a huge pay bump, and then all of a sudden you have officers that left to go to surrounding departments come back just because of the pay. So hopefully we can do that.
It was a problem years in the making, crime and benefits on both fronts. It's years in the making. I think it's a tall order to ask a mayor to come in on his first year and solve the problem completely. It took years to create it. It's going to take some years to solve it, or some time to solve it. So I just asked for the benefit of the doubt, but I agree with your sentiment and what you said there. I know the mayor does too. We're simpatico. We're in agreement on that. But people are impatient.
Yeah.
But I think patience is required. So we're working on it. I promise you that. And we're going to be safer when I leave than we were when I got here. I promise you.
We appreciate that. Any other questions? Councilman Fordyce had his hand up first.
Dave, thanks for your service. I appreciate it very much. And that was an excellent point that you just made. When you leave, when are you leaving?
Mayor?
I'm just saying.
Somebody,
I know you've got 37 years in, and it's getting close. So I'm just saying that. And then I've got one other question after that. That's my main question.
I could be very happy. I've got a wonderful wife and family. I could retire right now and be very happy.
Sure.
I love this place. I like working for the mayor. I told him if he wasn't, I'm not going to work for another mayor. That's the way I'll answer your question. I'm going to work for him and I'm going to be done.
Okay, I appreciate that. The other question I have, and I think you still adhere to this, once you send an officer through the academy, do we still have a 5-year contract with them to stay with this department under those terms and provisions? And I know that we had that before. We were trying to secure that, especially if we send them to the academy and put all that time and effort into them.
We do, but I have mixed feelings about it. I'm
That's what I'm
mulling it over about. I think you have to look at the whole thing. You don't know who doesn't come because of that. Mm-hmm. And if another department is not putting that burden on the candidate, that may be the thing that makes them go to that other department. So it's easy to say, let's do that, and it gives us some security, but you don't know who you've lost in the process who's not willing to come here for that reason. Because other departments aren't having to do that. So I have mixed feelings about that. It may make us feel better, but I'm not sure it's a solution to our problem. The solution to our problem is paying a salary that's going to make us a destination police department like we used to be, where people want to come here. Mm-hmm. And then you won't have to have that. They'll want to come here and they'll want to stay.
Thank you.
So good question though.
We have kind of on the fire department, Gary, they have a thing that, and I think it's 5 years as well, that we don't send them through the academy like you guys do. So we don't have to worry about that part. But if they leave in a certain amount of time, they have to reimburse the city. Yeah, I'll talk to you, Dave. They have to reimburse the city for their equipment that we purchase for them, because it's all custom fit for them, and any education. Do you guys have anything like that? Or
we do. That's what we're talking about. It's but I think it's counterintuitive on a level. It kind of protects the city, but I think if you take a broader view, I think you have to be careful that you're not keeping people away who you really want to try to come here. If I have an excellent candidate and he's looking at us in another department, they're saying, hey, you come here with us, we're going to make you happy, and you'll want to stay. And us, we're saying, if you leave, we're going to punish you. Well, who are you going to pick? I mean, and that's exactly the scenario we want to be. That's the arena we want to fight in. We want to be fighting for the best candidates. We don't want to be taking somebody and starting a relationship that way. So I understand why it was put into place under the last administration, but I don't necessarily agree that it's the best way to go. Sometimes you have to take risk. If you treat your people right, they'll want to stay. So
Is that, so I didn't even know we have a 5-year contract they have to sign?
I might have said 4, but if you'll indulge me, I can look into it and get you an answer.
But we have a contract they have to sign if they get hired on?
I would say an agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Agreement.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, and
But
Brian,
that's,
I wasn't ignoring you, but I knew that was a fire department, because those are custom fit fire outfits that they have to go through.
No, but I'm just saying, it's the
And I
same.
talked
with
to,
police.
yeah, and I know they have to reimburse if they defect in a certain amount of time with the fire department, so, and I knew that, because the academy is pretty expensive. I mean, it's not cheap to send a cadet to an academy and get him.
Well, we don't pay very much money to actually have them go. It's not like going to college. The state, the academy is funded for that purpose, but we do have a little bit of investment. We do have per diem, and it's not free, but it's not as expensive as you might think. It's more the overall investment, the time invested. It's just more than the academy. I wouldn't want to get hung up on the academy.
How long is the academy?
Just shy of 4 months. Yeah.
And then you still have FTO and
Yeah, it takes a year. It takes a guy 2 weeks to tell us he's leaving. It takes us minimum, if we have and that's if we have a guy standing by to hire that next day. It takes a year to get him ready to work. And that's assuming he does everything he's supposed to do and makes it, he or she. And sometimes they don't. So, but don't cry us a river. That's our challenge. But if you ask me right now, I think I'd probably want to get rid of that requirement that you have to stay so long and just roll the dice on getting. So if we can get them here, they'll want to work here. Yeah. Our family, our environment, once they get on our team, they love it. I have guys who've gone to Carmel, the state police, and they'll come back to visit. And typically this is how they'll say, I'm making a lot more money, but I miss you guys. I miss the environment. I miss the work. I miss my partners. And I just don't have that where I'm at. And I hear that all the time. And I'll hear it from the guy who just left today. I promise you. So if we set the right, if we create the right environment, we won't need that contract. It'll be useless. It actually is an albatross if you think about it.
Well, and just for some education, so your pension's based off of where you retired from, based off of patrolman's pay. So where you retire from also affects your retirement. So the less you make when you retire, right? Whatever the department's patrolman pay is you're getting half of that. I think starting out it's 50% and then it goes up. But still, it's a scaled thing. So, I mean, though it's not just what they're making now, it's when they're going to retire, how much are they making? How much is going into perf, all that. So
that's exactly right.
So it's like, why wouldn't I go somewhere else, make some more money? So I know when I retire, I'm going to make more money when I retire too. So, but yeah, I appreciate your efforts, and I concur. I didn't know we had that. If it was up to me, I'd get rid of that because I think I wouldn't want to apply if that was an agreement. Yeah. That's not a competitive advantage whatsoever. I think it actually hurts us more than it helps us.
It's one of those things on the surface. There seems to be some logic to it, but I didn't do it before, and I don't think I want to continue to do that. But that's a good question.
The only place I've ever seen those are departments like 5 people or less, because they literally are on a shoestring budget. But yeah, it's my opinion. Councilman Klein?
Chief, this is, I guess, a bottom line kind of, is this a budget you can live with? You can look your men and women in the eyes and feel comfortable with?
Yeah, I wouldn't be here. It's a tight budget, but we have an obligation. But part of it, what the mayor has talked about is the idea that we need an infusion if we need something. I know you have said that as well, that we need to come to the council, make our case, not be frivolous, but if we need something, we'll be back. Yeah.
Any other questions for Chief Gilbert?
Appreciate you, Chief.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Okay, moving into almost to the end here. Street Department. Thank you, Randy. Welcome. All right. So anybody have questions for Randy? I'll let everyone get flipped over there and give everyone a moment to catch up there.
Randy, in your operating supplies area, you have the fuel and ice and then garage and motors. Both of those are cut in half from this year's current budget. There was 80,000 budgeted for fuel and ice, and this proposed budget has 40, and the garage and motors had 200,000, and this proposed budget has 100,000. Do you know what originally you were planning with that and why that's okay to be cut in half for the next year, or?
The 2024 budget, obviously I wasn't a part of, but there were some expenses that were paid out of the garage and motors. We paid off a skid steer. We paid for some pavement through the parking lot via Mike Graff. Excuse me. The fuel and ice, how the fuel works is I pay it, and then all the other departments are budgeted into that, and then they pay that back. So I have no idea why it was 80 to begin with, because we've never spent 40 as an individual department. So to be honest, why it was at 80 at one time from the original 40. But for the garage and motors to be cut in half, I don't foresee those expenses paying off the equipment because it already got paid off.
Quick question. Did you get that new truck yet?
No, sir, it's being built. The manufacturer they had the chassis and the tank and everything gets put on per order because they're special orders. No, sir.
Awesome.
But thanks to these two ladies, it was ordered.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank
Excited
you.
to see it. Any other council members for Randy?
Hasn't changed much.
Okay. If anyone, I guess with no other questions, we'll move on. Randy, thanks for hanging out to the end with us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and moving on, we've already done parks, and we're gonna do, we did transportation. Almost down to the last one, Board of Aviation. Yep.
I thought, was it Mr. McKinney?
Yeah, he was
I think
here,
he
yeah.
came last year.
Yep. Anybody have questions on it or discussion they want to have over it?
No, they didn't have any increases. They didn't
Yeah, no increases, yeah. It all looks the same, and I mean, essentially, we did give them some stuff through ARPA and all that, so that's great. Okay. Okay, so just to wrap it up, any council members have any other questions they want to go back to for the mayor? Anything they feel like they missed or questions that popped back up? Or Mayor, do you have anything you want to share that you wish we would have covered, or Controller Galt? Can you come up to the mic? Sorry.
We'll have the changes for you this week, and we'll make sure everybody gets the changes.
Okay. Changes this week.
And I'd like to request a third committee budget hearing so we can go over all those and iron out all this that we've gone over, make sure that we're in line with it.
Mayor, we're going to say something?
I don't need I don't need the department heads. I just think as a council, with some of these changes and stuff that we've done, we get the changes from the controller that we could have a third committee budget hearing to make sure that we're online and everything's according to what we think.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, that's fine with me. I mean, you want me at two, Nick?
Pardon me?
You want me at that, or are you talking about just for the council?
Well,
Yeah, I can come, yeah, I mean, it doesn't bother me. I mean, but it's on the agenda for September 3rd. So if we do another one, we have to.
well, so I guess I'm trying to understand what, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I mean, we're here now. So I guess, I mean, we ironed out the questions. We've had 2 meetings for almost 4 weeks. So what more do we need to discuss?
Changes on salary increases and stuff like that. Not all the raises are the same as everybody else's. Some are 16, some are 5, some are 18, some are 17, some are 6.4. I just think now that, I mean, you just raised Jerry's. I mean, you know, I just like to go over everything with everybody and make sure that we're online with everything on the rate increases and the salary increases and everything we've gone over on the budget. I mean, it's kind of hard to do in 2 and then start taking it to the
But
council.
I guess, yeah, but I'm just trying to understand. I mean, we've discussed it. They're going to tweak the numbers on the paper, and I guess we can discuss it now. I mean, essentially, it's just a change on the paper, and it still has to come to the council. We can still cut things, but I'm just trying to understand the necessity of the third meeting.
Could we not just do that at first reading?
That's what I was thinking. We could still discuss it at first reading. I mean, we're not going to add anything, right? I think everyone's agreed we're not adding anything. We're not asking to add anything other than those few tweaks, changes, some transfer. We haven't really changed the bottom line. It's just changing some categories. Am I correct?
Right,
So we haven't technically added anything to the budget. So that was my thought, Gary, and I appreciate you wanted to do that. My thought was that we could address those things at the first reading. Plus, it's a little more of a public forum for people to hear it too.
Fine,
That'd be all right.
if that's what you want to do.
What does the rest of the council feel on that? I mean, I just want to get everyone's input on that.
I agree. I mean, I kind of agree with Michael too. I took notes on the like with Jerry tonight and made that, and then I already know what number's coming from you. So it'll just be in the budget as it is. I'm not gonna learn anything new by another budget meeting that I don't already know now. And then first reading, I think, would take care of that as well. That's my opinion.
Because we got to do 3 readings. So we're going to have 3 readings on this. So, I mean, we definitely have ample opportunity on the public platform to discuss this. Also, I mean, I'm sure the mayor's okay if you have additional questions, ask the mayor. And
Yeah, I mean, I'm open for questions, email, whatever. I mean, if we want to do a third one, I'm not offended by it. Again, this is a big thing. So either way, I'm okay. Whether it goes to a third budget committee or we decide to go to the first council, I'm open for both.
I'm gonna take a little roll call. Councilman Brunner, how do you feel? Do you feel first reading, or would you rather see a third budget?
I'm whatever you want to do, sir. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Okay. Councilman Marshall?
Well, I'm assuming that the adjustments we made today are going to get put into the document, and we will get a copy of that prior to reconvening. So if something doesn't seem true, then we can call and get that corrected if necessary. And so I don't think it's necessary for another meeting.
Okay.
First hearing, first reading.
Okay. Councilman Kane, I think you.
What Eric said.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Vice President Calgo gave his opinion already. So Councilman Witten. Okay. Councilwoman Devine.
I'm open either way. I mean,
I fully understand what Gary's saying. I think one question for the controller's office: the changes we're going to get, will it be hard copy? We can swap out pages in the book. Okay.
Well, I'll email you just so you can have it ahead of time, but we'll also get the hard copies.
And we can come up and pick them up.
And it'll change. This is really the book that matters. This one is just
Yeah.
for you.
Okay.
We'll give you what goes in here too, so you don't need to.
Okay. Now, thank you. I fully understand what Gary's saying, but I think we can do it on a first reading when we're gonna have a lot more people here, might spark some interest in the public hearing. That's my thought.
Okay, great. Just want to make sure everyone's comfortable because, I mean, this is probably one of our most important tasks and roles as a council is the budget. I want sure we're comfortable moving forward. So we'll just go ahead and just move it to that first reading and go from there. Mayor, any last comments? All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming tonight. Department heads, council, thank you. And we'll go ahead and adjourn the budget meeting.
So,